Hi, this is Relationship Alchemy, and I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly. Today, we're going to be talking about love and money with Krisstina Wise. Krisstina is a mom of two, an avid runner, some would say a reading and learning addict, an obnoxiously loud and frequent laugher. I hope I can make her laugh on the show, and a woman on a big mission. She's also a real estate mogul, millionaire coach, and creator of several multi-million-dollar businesses, including Good Life Luxury, The Paperless Agent, and Wealthy Wealthy. She's the host of the Wealthy Wealthy Life podcast and the founder of the Wise Money School. Welcome to the show, Krisstina.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited for our conversation. Love and money is such a juicy topic. So where do you like to begin talking about love and money?
I always like to begin with just like saying the word money.
No.
It's just right there. It's like all of a sudden there's the stomach drops or there's anxiety or just the shoulders go up, something happens. And so it's so important in relationship. We talk about all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things that come up in a relationship. And money is like the one that's not really tackled. And so there's so much confusion that goes into relationship when people first get together and then they're going to stay together. Money doesn't come up as a topic. Kids may come up, sex may come up, in-laws may come up, all the things. But this money thing is so hard to broach this topic. And it's hard for a number of reasons that I like to talk about. But then even when then people are married, there are relationships, as though the marriage is going to fix it, something that hasn't been talked about. And now money can really wreak havoc even on the best of relationships. So I like to
Absolutely.
talk about like money has to become a safe and healthy topic, like everything else that we want to improve on in the marriage, in the relationship.
And that's such an important point too, because it does feel in some ways like it's one of the last taboos to talk about. We can talk about all sorts of stuff before we get married, but somehow, like you said, the money thing is so fraught. And then when you combine gender, because God forbid, if someone's in a heterosexual relationship, God forbid the woman makes more than the man, and then what do you do with that? And it just gets fraught really fast. I'm curious how do you suggest someone broach that conversation?
First of all, even before that, it's to understand why money is such a volatile subject. And so when we come, each of us individually, unless we've done work, most of us have our own money issues, right? So I'm an individual and I don't talk about money. I'm afraid of money. It scares me, maybe even make a lot of it, but it's just something that I want to ignore. I just want to make enough of it and hopefully I'll have enough. And that's about all of it. And it's to understand like all the other dysfunctions we bring forward from our childhood. Money is no exception. So we bring that dysfunction as well. So we're bringing forth, if we've not done some work on our money story and our money beliefs and our relationship with money, and assuming it's not necessarily working for us one way or another, it's to understand we've brought those forward from childhood, that we're usually bringing forward the beliefs of our parents, what we saw from our parents, what we heard from our parents. And so most of, my clients is that they work with me because we're doing their own work with their own money, their relationship with money one way or another, because it's not serving them and it's wreaking some sort of havoc in their life one way or another. So that's one thing. Now you bring your partner and they've got the same thing and they usually have a different one, but it's just as dysfunctional.
Yep.
So now we're bringing two dysfunctional relationships with money to the equation. And now we never talk about this thing and we think it's going to work. And what happens is just beyond the beliefs that we bring forward with this is ultimately at the end of the day, for most people, money's either a topic that's never talked about or is just not safe. So mom and dad thought about it, or it just anytime the money thing came up, it felt very scary as a child. So those fears are still really built in. So we're afraid to broach the subject because it's not a safe topic. Or then we believe that to be true. We get in a relationship, we try to talk about money and it blows up. And now we've just confirmed the childhood belief that this isn't a safe topic. So maybe if we just ignore it, it'll somehow work itself out. But again, and even relationship therapists and things aren't trained to talk about money, yet it's one of the top reasons for divorce is financial reasons. So so it's just to understand that this topic, we can understand why it's so difficult is because it's scary. So we just have to really work to get to a safe environment or a safe place to be able to have these conversations. But ultimately, like anything relationship wise, it starts with us first. It starts with, let me work on my stuff, not try to fix my spouse or my significant other. Let me work on my own thing. And by virtue of working on me here, it can automatically start just improving this conflict or anxiety within the relationship by one person understanding it.
So true. Absolutely. And it's so aligned with how I actually approach relationship work which is it starts with you. So if someone is confronting their money story or their money history for the first time, do you recommend they go back all the way to the beginning? Can they start with what's here now? How does someone open this very scary box and look inside?
There's two things is that one, when we can, like you said, even it all starts with me, right? Versus blame and shame, and it's my partner's fault or that. No, we need to take responsibility. If I want to improve the situation, what can I do? What can I grow? What can I learn? So it can start there for the individual, because once we learn kind of the fundamentals of money laws, money mechanics, and we start doing these things and we get this healthy relationship with money, it can automatically start transcending over to the rest of the relationship. So yeah, we start there. But also, if couples can get to a place where they can study together, even better. But what's interesting, Maria Elizabeth, is that out of all my clients, I have thousands of people that go through my school each year. And I'd say 85% of them are married.
Wow.
So the big portion are married, yet probably 15% go through as couples.
Wow. That really says a lot.
So isn't that, and it's funny, I didn't even realize that until somebody asked me a question and I started reflecting on it, looking at the numbers and the people and really looking at my clients and customers, my students. And I found it very interesting. Number one, hooray for the individuals that are like saying, hey, I'm tackling this for me and I'm tired of this same old, same old. But on the other hand, they couldn't get their spouse on board. When I'm saying, man, you do this with your spouse, like it's centered, the results and the effects are so synergistic that once spouses are on the same page with money, it's amazing how fast you can build wealth. It's amazing how fast you can get out of debt. It's amazing how quickly you can start really transforming the money situation from what it is to what it is, to what you want it to be. Yet so few spouses can actually get their spouse on board. Another thing that I found when I really started looking at this, what I find interesting is when I look at those it's usually women, not to stereotype, but just from my data, it's usually women that come to me that say, hey, I'm sick and tired of this financial roller coaster and yo-yo. I want to take control of this. So I have the conversation. We determine that they're the right fit for the school. It's the right timing, all of the things. They're super excited about it. And then I say, okay, are you ready to enroll? What do you think the next question is?
Oh, let me ask my spouse.
Let me ask my spouse.
Yeah.
What percentage of women come back after talking to their spouse and say, yep, game on, let's go?
In my experience, a low percentage, because there's a way that they will go and ask for permission instead of going and communicating their desire in a magnetic way. Say, I want to do this and I want your support. Like they don't go to enroll, they go to ask permission. Exactly. And I think that's a problem. And then because we're talking about money, I imagine, and you tell me if this is true, that it just gets even more confronting and more fraught because there could be all sorts of reasons why the spouse may not want her to be more empowered around money, but also just shame on either side might infect the conversation. I can just see 15 different things that would get in the way.
Yeah, and all those get in the way. It's like saying, hey, I want to go to a sex coach because I want to improve my own thing. And you go to ask your partner and they're taking it personally.
Hey, like what's wrong with our sex? And it's like, oh,
but that's right. It is that, again, this money thing it's causing so many problems in relationships, yet so few people actually do something about it. And so they stay in that dynamic forever. And then it just, until maybe they get used to it or it just breaks. But I think, I don't know what your statistics are, but my statistics show that money and sex outside the relationship are the two number one causes for.
I believe it. I actually don't have data on that myself, but I know that financial strain, and I've seen it so much where if there's different spending habits, if there's under earning, if there's values not in alignment with what you like to spend on, all of those things start to fray the connection.
It does, and it starts to pull the spouses apart, and it's one more thing to fight over.
Yeah.
Wait, how much did you put on the credit card, or you bought what? So now it's just another thing to add friction. Relationships aren't hard enough already one way or another. So and the truth is, money's the easiest thing to fix.
Wow. How
That's just that. It's just when you learn kind of these basic principles and mechanics, you get on your same page with money with your spouse. What are our dreams? How much money is enough? What are her earning powers? What role do you want with money, and what role do I want with money? How are we going to talk about it? What's going to be our safe space? Do we have money dates to make sure that we're on track? But ultimately, when we have, and I give scripts for how to do this. These are the questions to talk to your spouse about. And here's the script. So just follow these and get to know your partner. One, we want to get to know each other, maybe intimately on a financial level, and learn, like, how did you grow up with money? Why do you spend all the time? Why do you, without judgment, and understand your partner? So we can understand their partner and their past and the reason why they're bringing these together. And we're not thinking ours is better than worse. We just have these different things we brought to the table. And now we learn these money frameworks and these basic money principles, and we get an alignment of what we both want as a marriage. The purpose of the marriage, not just great sex and to have kids and a family. Part of the marriage is to have a really vibrant relationship that working together, you create the dreams of the relationship versus the dreams alone. It's the dreams of the relationship, and money underwrites the cost of that. And alignment of what we want as a couple, individually and collectively, and we can support each other individually, but we know collectively what we want, and money's a function of that. Now we can be on the same page, like, hey, how are we doing moving towards these dreams that we've co-invented together? Now that's relationship and alignment, and our money can be alignment versus pulling us apart. So the reason why money is the easiest thing is it's very simple, just to follow the prompts, go through these things, have the conversations, learn these basic money things, know some numbers, set some dreams, and now manage your money according to the roles you both determine, and have a money date once a month. And it's really that simple. Other things in the relationship are far more difficult. So if we can just fix this one, the relationship can be that much easier. At least we don't have to spend any energy, negative energy, on the money piece. We've got that one covered. But when we can get in alignment with our dreams and our financial aspirations that support those dreams, it's amazing how much other friction just starts dwindling. It's automatic. Like, the relationship just gets easier on all different levels. I've seen this over and over and over again, and I don't know why it works that way. I'm just saying it works that way. It's like it works that way individually also, since I work mostly with individuals, like I stated. But it's as though, like, entrepreneurs and business owners, or just everyone that they go do all this self-improvement and all this spiritual work and all the things, but money's the one thing they won't tackle. They think money's just magically going to just work itself out, when money is one of the most important things to get right at the end of the day. So it's okay, because again, those inward things, we have some story about money that I don't want to talk about, or I don't want to confront it. I don't want to do it if I just personally develop myself or professionally develop myself in all these other areas. And I just want to, if there was a billboard that I could scream on the mountain, or billboard, I'd be like, fix money first. Oh, when you fix money first, you'll be amazed at how the personal and professional development, it's supportive as opposed to be the thing you're going after. Money is such a powerful energy, and it's so important to the quality of life. It's our relationship to it, and the way we manage it, and how we work with it, and how we understand it and know it, is instrumental to quality of life. Yeah, it's the one thing individually and collectively that is, I just don't want to talk about it. It's the total head in the sand, because it's just too confronting on an emotional level for most people.
Absolutely. First of all, I hope you own the URL Fix Money First. And if you don't, go buy it right after this conversation. Second of all, I would love to talk about money dates, because that that I love the idea of having a money date. And I agree with you that it's like the final frontier of what we typically don't talk about. However, it is something that's so basic to our quality of life. And yet we've internalized so many messages, especially if anybody has a religious background, we internalize so many messages about to want money is evil or to accumulate too much is evil. Like you shouldn't want too much, you don't be greedy, all of these things. So when someone has big dreams, it can be super confronting, I think, to think about, oh, I actually have to make a lot of money to float that dream. And then is that right? Is that okay to want that even? It's so basic on the level of desire. But I want to come back to the money date thing because I think that's a really great idea. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, what's interesting, again, what I found through my work is that I don't know your side of the equation, but on the money side, there's opposites attract.
Mm-hmm.
Like the opposite attracts, meaning it's so many times, and it's just a healthy percentage that the saver marries the spender.
Totally.
And so now again, it can be conflict. And so what's important is when, we do this work is that we get to know your numbers and get to know, we set these buckets up for spending and setting buckets up for saving. And according to the methodology that I teach, but what happens is that I want the couples to know that it's great that we have both of you, because sometimes maybe the saver is like the better person because they're more responsible. And then the spender is causing the problems because they're overspending. And that certainly could be a dynamic. But when we can understand that in a relationship, there's a great place for both. And if we create that place for both, it can actually be a really powerful combination. And the reason why that is because, again, it tends to be when we're just a saver, we're saving out of fear. So there's just security, and we're saving, pinching, holding. So that tight energy now gets pissed off at the spouse because they're spending, which is like they're blowing the whole security and everything. And then many times they don't want to spend. And so they're not spending on themselves. They're not spending on anyone because it's just this tight control. It's like this control over the money. And again, that tight control, like controlling anything, usually doesn't work very well, that controlling nature. We don't want it to be out of control, but we want it to be out of a conversation like, hey, again, these are our dreams and aspirations. This is the type of money we need. So how much do we need to save let's say on a monthly or annual basis to make sure that we have the money to fund our dreams?
Yeah.
But we've already determined how much it's going to cost to fund our dreams. So as long as we save this amount, we're great. So now savers are really good, important role in the relationship because they're really good at managing those savings to make sure there's enough for the co-created future that the couple have decided they want for themselves. So since they've decided something together, now the spender can be happy that the saver has taken on the responsibility to make sure that there's money there to do that. Aside of that, the savings, and I talk about all the different types of savings buckets that we want. But now on the spender side, what's important about the spender is the spender actually spends money on life. They enjoy spending. So it's a nice balance because the saver can just hoard and not want to spend. And just, I see it all the time where they feel guilty for spending and they don't spend, even though there's plenty of money to spend that's been allocated for that. So the spender is a really great relationship to make sure that that there's money spent on the marriage in ways outside of these savings things to make sure that everybody's happy because money is meant to be spent.
Yes.
Other money is meant to be spent. It's just how we spend it that determines if we're winding up where we want to be financially or not. But that's it. So it's a really nice relationship. So what's good about these money dates is they're check-ins to say, hey, what I like to recommend is that there's a money retreat. There's a marriage or money retreat at the end of the year and say, hey, how did we do this last year? And what do we want to do next year? And so then when we do that, now we're setting the goals for the marriage goals, the marriage and financial goals and dreams and things for the year. So now we're doing this. What do we want to create this year? How much is going to cost? How much do we need to save? How much do we need to invest? How much is it going to cost to live this life? Are we going to do anything differently? Do we expect any more money to come in this year? Do we want to create any more money coming in this year? If so, how much? So really have this annual money, or just I call it a marriage retreat, but it's mostly financial. It's really the financial piece where we're matching up the money to the goals and dreams we set as the marriage. And as a conversation like, hey, it's really important to me this year that I get a health coach because I've been really struggling with these things, and we want our marriage to even be better. So we've determined it's really important that we go to work with Maria Elizabeth and do some work on our marriage and do this. And then maybe he says, it's really important to me that I buy a new road bike because my other one is really getting old and I'd like to have that. And these are all, let's say, fairly pricey. But when we have generally speaking, these can be things. But now when we've had these conversations, like, all right, how are we going to fund these things? This is how much it costs to live our life on a monthly basis and these other things. So how are we going to fund it? So it just opens up all these conversations. It can be these collaborative, creative conversations for what are we going to do? What if I did this to make a little extra or that? But see, now it's not fighting. Now it's co-inventing, like in creating how we can create this future that we both want. You want to do that for you. I want to do this for me. And we want to do this for us. And now we're going to figure out a way to do it. So that's the annual event. And then the monthly money dates, which can be just really great. And it's just to talk about the check-in, like, how are we doing? How are you feeling? I'm feeling great. How are we doing with savings? How are we doing with spending? Hey, I've been looking at this investment. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more. Are we on track? Is there anything else that we can do? How do you feel? So it's just this check-in financially where the date is just about money. Have other dates for the romance and all the stuff, but I call it the business of marriage.
Yes.
It's the business of marriage that's the role. Like marriage has all these different roles. Like part of it's raising our children, part of it's the romance, part of it's these different things. But when we can understand that there can be this business side of marriage, the couples that build the best wealth are the couples that talk about it, are synergistic, and they treat this part like a business. Like they're serious about this because they're serious about the future of their marriage and they're serious about the future of their life. So they project into the future and have these conversations of how together there's just so much more power and energy to create the collective dreams and goals that can be much more difficult as an individual because, that 1+1 in a really healthy relationship that has the business side, that's a very important function of it. Again, the money piece can just accelerate exponentially relative to an individual or two people in a marriage that just aren't working as a synergistic team. Really, you can do anything financially as a couple that are aligned with their dreams and their money.
Yeah. And what I love about how you described this is even before you said synergistic team at the end there, as you were speaking, I was like, oh, this is true teamwork. We lip service teamwork in a relationship, but it so rarely exists in my experience. And this is real teamwork where deciding together on the goals, evaluating, I want this for me. You want this for you. We want this together for us. I just loved how you described that because the whole thing just felt so infused with real teamwork.
It is team. That's just it. Like when the partnership is a team, it's a real partnership. So in a business partnership, if you have two business partners that are totally aligned, ambitious, excited, passionate about creating this amazing business that they're both just all in and just see that's the future and that's the wealth. And if they stay in alignment and they're meeting regularly and they're talking about how things are doing, that's what a business partnership is. It has to be that way. Otherwise, the business probably isn't going to
gel.
Yeah. So when we can look at our marriage like that, the business side of our marriage is the same type of partnership. It's much more powerful than even a business partnership because at the end of the day, if you and I are business partners and we're super excited about this business and we're doing great, we're so aligned and we're aligned personally, we're aligned on the vision of the company. But at the end of the day, I go home to my life and you go home to your life. And so that's where the kind of the agendas separate because you've got your life that you're working on. I'm working on my life. Now, when we come together collectively as a business, with the business side, we're together. Now, take the marriage. Everything's aligned on the marriage. So when the business partnership's aligned, there's no conflict like, hey, I'm going to go over here and you're going to go over there. That's the combination of the energy it's energy on top of energy. It's the combined energy of the partnership combined with the combined energy of the partnership that both partners are going actually in the same direction professionally and personally. So the energy is an X factor of an individual energy. So we can understand that. And it's a good partnership. It knows like there's nothing, a couple in alignment that has these conversations, they can build wealth and all the things that, freedom, the things that most all of us are after. One, it's a lot more fun when you're in alignment with somebody else, but two, it's so much faster. And three, it can just be so much more. Like 1 + 1 totally can equal 100 if that's what we set out
Absolutely.
to do. If that's what we
Yeah.
set out to do. Not to mention all the other benefits of having a juicy relationship.
Do you see a partner around? Yeah, it's all good. And so I understand you have an awesome gift, a quiz for our listeners and watchers. I'd love to hear more about that. What is it?
Yeah, so I'll share with that. One other thing I just want to say is that I encourage everyone to really think maybe this year to really think about improving their relationship with money and just getting better with it. And don't let it be that last frontier. So that's part of why I like to do these. But two, and that's for any couple, but anybody that's in a relationship and thinking of getting married, please do the work.
Yes.
Please work with me or someone like me or read the books. 8 Dates is a great book. Like read books, but have these conversations before you get married. Do this before you get married. And it's just going to set your relationship up for so much more likelihood of success. So anybody that's in a relationship, whatever you need to do to have the kind of the courage to have these conversations, do it by all means. It's not going to get better later on.
Absolutely.
So anyway, quiz that I have, it's a financial IQ quiz. So it's a really fun little quiz that it's just 10 questions and you answer these questions and then it's going to grade you on your money IQ. So it's a really great place to start and again, it gives all the reasons what the answers are and why. And it's just a really nice thing. So it's our own check-in. Hey, maybe there's something here that I can learn, or maybe there's something here that by virtue of this, it's in my way. So it's a good starting place. But is the quiz is fun and it's nice to get the grade.
And the link for that, by the way, is in the show notes. So just go down into the show notes and click the link and you can take it.
And so the most important money question that we can ever ask ourselves is how much money is enough?
Yes.
And when you ask that, just by virtue of asking it, you sit down and be like, I don't know, how do I calculate that? It's an equally philosophical question as it is just pragmatic and quantifiable. So we want to be able to quantify that. And so by virtue of taking the quiz, after you take the quiz, I send you a workbook that is a step-by-step, fill in the blank. All you need is like a calculator on your iPhone. And just go through the step-by-step. And the step-by-step is going to help you determine how much money is enough. And just knowing that number and having that number to talk with your relationship, do it with your spouse, do it with your significant other, and just see what that reveals to you. Because once you find out this number, it's amazing how much easier our money part of our life becomes.
Oh, yeah. It's a game changer when you know that. Because I can see all sorts of ways that also having that number not only gives you a clear direction, but it's also relaxing in a certain way, because otherwise money can be this big amorphous money. Whereas when you have a number that you know is the enough number for you, it's like, okay, that's what we're doing. Like we're working toward that.
Bingo. It's that simple. And that number really changes everything. And again, it can reduce so much of the conflict because we have an agreement.
Exactly.
And now both of our promises to each other is we're going to stay in alignment with our agreement. And we're going to have a conversation when things are getting off track because we've already agreed together that this is what we're working towards. Either one of us will trade that agreement.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Is there a final thing you'd like to share? I feel like you've already said an amazing final tip, but if there's anything more.
Yeah, no, I just say that money first.
Money first. Fix money first.
Fix money first.
Hashtag fix money first. So good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's really been awesome to talk with you. This has been Relationship Alchemy with Krisstina Wise and me, your host, Marie Elizabeth Molly. And remember, until next time, a great relationship starts with you.